Righty, welcome everyone to postpartum power presentation. So first we're going to be talking about our story. Our campaign, Postpartum Power, Debunking Misconceptions in Women's Holistic Healthcare for Postpartum Mothers, aims to address prevalent misconceptions surrounding holistic healthcare practices for postpartum mothers to provide them with factual information to promote healthy healing. Our mission in this campaign aims to negate mental health challenges faced by women in the postpartum period. By addressing misconceptions and providing accurate information, we seek to improve mental health outcomes and support holistic well-being for new mothers. One of the main statistics that grabbed our attention for this topic is going to be that 75% of new moms experience anxiety or depression in the days following birth. This results in 1 in 7 women experiencing postpartum depression or anxiety. These symptoms are not normal, but are extremely common. Some other key stats that we grabbed for this presentation is for postpartum depression. Postpartum depression affects about 10 to 15% of new mothers. Up to 80% of new mothers experience the baby blues, which are generally mild mood swings that resolve on their own. Next is postpartum anxiety. Approximately 10% of postpartum women experience anxiety disorders. Recovery, which takes around 6 weeks for the uterus to return to its pre-pregnancy size. Postpartum bleeding typically lasts around 4 to 6 weeks. And breastfeeding. Approximately 80% of mothers attempt breastfeeding after birth. However, only about 25% of mothers exclusively breastfeed for the recommended 6 months.
So, for our campaign, we're going to be focusing on the health belief model for our campaign. So, what the health belief model is, it's a psychological model that explains and predicts health behaviors by focusing on the attitudes and beliefs of individuals. And since we're trying to debunk myths, this makes the most sense for us. First, the perceived susceptibility and severity, educating mothers on the real risk and consequences of common postpartum issues, enhancing their understanding of why these issues should not be ignored. Perceived benefits. So, we're going to be demonstrating the effectiveness of correct postpartum practices and dispelling any myths, thereby motivating positive changes in behavior, which is our overarching goal. Perceived barriers, so identifying and addressing any barriers that prevent mothers from seeking or following through with appropriate postpartum care. And then cues to action, so making sure that we provide clear, actionable steps that can trigger the desired health behaviors. And then finally, for long-term self-efficacy, empowering mothers with the confidence to manage their postpartum health effectively through informed decisions and supported actions. So by incorporating these elements from the HBM, it allows us to make sure that we craft our messages and any interventions and campaign materials that resonate with postpartum mothers in particular, encouraging them to adopt healthier behaviors based on accurate information and support a belief in their own capabilities.
So, for our SMART objectives for the campaign, it will specifically focus on enhancing postpartum mental health literacy and promoting access to vital resources and accurate information for postpartum women. This will be done by promoting access and providing accurate information and resources. For measurable, we hope to decrease the endorsement of identified misconceptions in regards to postpartum healthcare by 40% among our target audience within hopefully a year in the campaign launch. Achievable, we have developed and distributed a series of educational materials covering maternal health topics in relation to postpartum healthcare. This is relevant because it is important that our objectives align with and also support our campaign's main goal of debunking misconceptions. Within the project, we have reviewed our educational materials within the post-program surveys and within the 2-month mark to measure changes in perception and behavior regarding holistic healthcare practices. Our goals for the campaign are to reduce the prevalence of misconceptions surrounding holistic healthcare practices for postpartum mothers by providing them education and debunking misinformation. Our first goal is to empower postpartum women, to provide them with the accurate knowledge and resources that enhance their understanding of mental health and maternal postpartum health, while promoting access to this accurate information for their overall well-being. The second goal is to debunk common misconceptions by addressing common misconceptions in holistic healthcare practices for postpartum mothers. These goals ultimately reflect the fundamental desires of the campaign to create positive change within the community of postpartum women by encouraging and supporting an informed environment that prioritizes their maternal health and their overall well-being.
So our primary audience will be postpartum mothers, women who have recently given birth or are seeking holistic healthcare solutions for themselves and their newborns during the postpartum period. And our secondary audience will be expectant mothers and healthcare providers. Expectant mothers, pregnant women who are preparing for childbirth, interested in holistic healthcare options for themselves and their future postpartum care, empowering them to make informed decisions about their healthcare journey. And healthcare providers would be midwives, healthcare professionals involved in women's health and childbirth who may benefit from updated information and sources on holistic postpartum care to better serve their patients.
So our strategy for postpartum power is going to be to first, the use of holistic healthcare for postpartum mothers occurs from the recognition of many needs of women during this vulnerable period. So just first to recognize that. And then next, understand that not all women have access to their needs after giving birth. Next, we're going to offer a holistic approach to postpartum care for mothers that considers not only their physical needs, but also mental, emotional, and spiritual features of health and wellness. And ultimately, our plan is to share the idea that a holistic environment is equipped to nurture each of the health needs that mothers and families experience during postpartum.
So going into the messages and materials that we'll be using, so we'll have a full media kit Dropbox, and that's going to include certain deliverables. The first deliverable is this flyer here. So this is just talking about an overview of exactly what postpartum power is, our partners, and our overall purpose with actionable insights on how to learn more, including our website. We then will have more information-heavy materials such as this infographic, which is debunking some of the most common myths in postpartum care and kind of showing and exploring the postpartum truths. This will be good for both our primary and our secondary audiences. We also have a video and a radio ad. Let me see here.
Welcome to Postpartum Facts or Myths with Postpartum Power. Don't let myths overshadow your journey to motherhood because your well-being matters most during this precious time. You may have heard about this recent myth online claiming that consuming placenta pills can balance hormones and ward off postpartum blues. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has warned the public about the potential health risks associated with consuming placenta pills. According to the CDC, there is a risk of bacterial infection that is associated with consuming placenta capsules. So before you hop on any postpartum trends, remember to consult with your healthcare provider because it's crucial to prioritize your health and safety, especially during this precious postpartum period. Visit us today for trusted postpartum support and guidance. Brought to you by PostPartum Power Holistic Group, where we prioritize your health and safety above all else.
So we will be sharing that video ad. We'll also be taking the audio for radio ads as well. We'll also have a social media campaign focusing on social media posts that debunk the most common myths and facts and also offer additional resources. And we also did, for all of the materials and messages that we've shown you here today, we also did some pre-testing to ensure that these materials are the most efficient that they can be. And as a result, some changes were made in the final product that you just looked at that is based off of this feedback. So we had 55 total respondents to our survey regarding the efficiency of the messages and materials. 13% were male, 87% were female, and 51% had biological children. So they had already gone through the postpartum experience. As well as looking at our secondary audience, 22% had worked in the medical field. So for the pre-testing, what we found was that the flyer and the infographic accounted for over 57% of the preferred materials for postpartum power messaging. This makes it seem that more traditional advertising and infographics work the most efficiently. So as a result, our distribution focus will be on these two materials. The overall sentiment of the materials, so despite the flyer and the infographic being the favorite materials, some felt a strong negative sentiment towards its effectiveness. So as a result, we did a lot of revisions to make those materials be at their most efficient. We're also going to be providing additional charts and graphs that are most relevant from additional sources. For example, this one here is at the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. So this is regarding postpartum care team. Here we also have additional postpartum support guides from Healthline Parenthood. Here from Grandview Research, and this one's from AMCHP. All of these are just additional charts and graphs to help with our distribution of materials and really kind of illustrate the urgency of this campaign.
The settings that we chose for this campaign to reach its targeted audience would be their homes, cars, at a train or bus station, community events, workshops, and even at their healthcare provider's office. So in the home setting, it will reach our targeted audience through commercials and news segments that will play on the television, promoting resources and information for new parents. The car setting will reach them by commercials that play on the radio during peak times. The train and the bus stop will be filled with posters and inside and outside of the vehicle promoting resources for new parents. Community events and workshops will be hosted by a postpartum support group. These events will have a supportive and encouraging atmosphere that fosters connections and shared experiences among postpartum mothers.